everybody world over, wherever you are, in different time zones, different countries, different continents. Those have joined for this particular program with us live on the YouTube. You come on the ICSI YouTube channel, Dr. Gulshan Sharma. If you just go on the YouTube channel, Dr. Gulshan Sharma, you'll be able to see today's program right over there. Now, ladies and gentlemen, today in this webinar, of course, during this pandemic, during this lockdown, we are focusing on making education relevant. Whether it's a school education or higher education, technical education, management education, vocational education, skill education, competency-based education, there's a purpose of education what we take on. So this afternoon, today at 12:30 hours Indian Standard Time, we have got a very distinguished guest, young entrepreneur, Kashish Kalia. She's the founder, Thrifted Tones, London. That is the program and that is the organization, what she has got. Let's see, she's going to talk in the soft talk with us. What is the purpose of education and what is sustainable fashion and what is entrepreneurship? So ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of ICSI, International Chamber for Service Industry, we extend you a very warm welcome to be part of this particular program. And our efforts are that when we are empowering education and when we are trying to understand what is the purpose of education, our efforts should also be to encourage the young entrepreneurs so that they excel very well, they are being empowered, they are being encouraged, they are being enthusiastic, and we should, whatever leverages we can give them globally, we should try and work in that direction. So in that efforts, in our afternoon series, we have got today, as I mentioned to you, Kashish Kalia, and she is the founder of the Thrifted Tones. And she completed her undergraduate degree in the Bachelor of Commerce from Delhi. And she has been working with the Progressive Organization for Women Empowerment and Rehabilitation. Now, this foundation as an NGO with the agenda of social development, promoting gender equality, eradicating crime against women for the last 5 years. As a part of the POWER-NGO progressive organization, she worked on the key areas such as drafting action plans on ensuring institutional and financial help, formulation and implementation of various initiatives related to domestic violence victims, rehabilitation, and women education. During her college, she did intern with the NTPC, and that is one of the biggest public sector undertaking, what we have got in our country, as a corporate social responsibility, CSR, and HR intern. After graduating, she also worked with the Ernst & Young Global Delivery Services as an audit associate. While in college, she learned about how important it was to buy only what we need. Yes, that's something is very important. And particularly during this coronavirus, we all have realized that the life is now B2B, back to basics of life, not B2B is the business to business. And over there about upcycling, clothings, and that is what finally made her start her store, Thrifted Tones, in August 2020. Imagine she has started this business during coronavirus. Now she is currently pursuing her master's, that is from London School of Economics and Political Sciences. So ladies and gentlemen, we extend a very hearty welcome to Kashish Kalia, and let's hear her, what she has got to share with all of us. Hearty welcome to you, child. It's a pleasure to have you with us. And let's hear your story. What exactly are you doing? How did you start this journey? And particularly in August 2020, during this COVID-19, you're a very bold girl when you have started during COVID. So that is a startup also, that is a stand-up also, and that is entrepreneurship also, that's your efforts also. So let's talk about your dedication. Go ahead, Kashish Kalia.
Thank you for the very kind introduction, sir. And good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here. It's an honor to share this platform with you. And I'm glad that I have this opportunity to share my ideas with everyone here today. So to start, I would like to talk about sustainable fashion. I think all of us have heard about sustainability And I think initially we learn about it in our school, and our first introduction is through the definition of sustainability. So I would just like to read it out once. So sustainability means meeting our own needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Now, how does this translate into the fashion industry, and why sustainability in fashion is an issue that is being talked about currently and is being discussed, and why we all as individuals should know about it and be very conscious about it, is something that I would, like to talk about today. So the fashion industry is an immense industry that includes garments, footwear, jewelry, cosmetics. It's been steadily growing for the last 10 years. In 2016, it was estimated to be worth 2.4 trillion. And if ranked alongside individual countries' GDPs, it will represent the world's seventh largest economy. And these are figures for 2016. I'm sure currently in 2020, the numbers have only gone up. All of us on a conscious or a subconscious level interact with this industry every day. The very act of putting on a piece of clothing early in the morning is what should make us aware of the issue that this industry currently is facing. So, historically, all clothing that used to be worn was made locally, right? So, there were local artisans and textile makers who used to make the fabric, and then any clothing that anyone used to wear was made in their local area. And then machines were introduced. So, we moved on to a mass produced system of clothing making. And then eventually, with globalization, what is happening today is that our clothing is being designed in one place, it's being produced in another place, and we are consuming it, or it's being sold to us in another place. So, the primary model that exists in clothing is the fast fashion model. Now, the switch to fast fashion has happened because of consumerism and how we all as individuals want more, and we want it for a lesser price. I'm sure that most of you listening here have shopped from big stores like Zara and Mango and H&M. And these are just very common stores that have become a part of our lifestyle and our daily lives. The companies who are producing these clothes are making a profit, and they want to make a profit as fast as possible. And we as consumers want clothes to come to us very fast, and we want to wear the latest styles and the brand new clothes. And this has created a trend called fast fashion. Fast fashion is an approach to design, creation, and marketing of clothing that emphasizes making fashion trends quickly and cheaply available to customers, which, if you contrast it with the earlier system of fashion, is just such a drastic change. And what this is doing, that it's causing the problem of fashion waste. So we all end up buying more clothes, lower quality clothes at cheaper prices, and then discarding these clothes quickly because they do wear out very fast, and then we want more clothes. So fashion, a $2.5 trillion industry, is the second most polluting industry on earth right now, right behind oil. And this is something we're not told about, and this is something that's not talked about very frequently. The pressure to reduce the cost and speed up production times means that environmental concerns are cut in the name of profit. Fast fashion's negative impact includes the use of cheap, toxic textile dyes, and the fashion industry is the second largest polluter of clean water globally after agriculture. The speed at which garments are produced also means that more and more clothes are disposed by customers, creating a huge amount of textile waste. Fashion waste is costing the global economy more than $400 billion every year, according to a recent World Economic Forum report. On an average, we all as customers throw away 60% of our clothing in our first year. In 2020, an estimated 18.6 million tons of clothing will end up in landfills. The Ellen MacArthur Foundation reports that if this continues, over 150 million tons of clothing waste will clog landfills by 2050. 500,000 tons of microfiber is used to make these clothing, which is equivalent to 50 billion plastic bottles. The waste comes from discarded materials, underutilized clothing, and lack of recycling processes in place. And this is just the environmental concern that clothing can have. There's a social aspect to it as well. I'm sure that a lot of you must have heard the news of the garment factory collapse in Bangladesh in 2013. Most of these clothes are made in factories where women and children make these clothes in overworked, underpaid, unsanitary, and extremely unsafe conditions. For most of these brands, cutting cost and increasing profit is the main goal, which means that social goals, environmental concerns are not seen as of any value. Our current system celebrates economic growth but does not support environmental and social concerns. And as climate change and social well being are becoming more urgent issues in people's minds, more and more brands are starting to get concerned about and are trying to translate environmental and social sustainability into their own business model. However, it is still heartbreaking seeing the level of impact fast fashion has on the environment. I'm sure that after listening to these figures, some of you might be wondering what you can do on a personal level to reduce fashion waste and to live a more sustainable lifestyle. And as Sir mentioned in the beginning, the easiest way is to buy less and to buy only what we need. All of us have a tendency to overbuy, make impulse purchases. However, the focus should be on buying less, but buying very good quality clothing that will last you a lifetime. And this is also known as conscious buying. The second way we can help reduce this problem is by shopping locally. Stores they place a very high value on crafting their goods by hand. They use organic materials, and not only this will also be, we will be doing our bit to help the community economy by promoting and shopping at ethical, independent local stores. And this is also in line with what our government is currently promoting, the idea of buying locally and buying more Indian brands. The third concept is called upcycling clothing. Upcycling is also called creative reuse, which was often looked down upon and something that people don't tend to do very often, but is quite an important aspect of living the slow fashion lifestyle. Maybe making a slight alteration, changing the style of clothing, or just reusing your old clothing in new ways is a way that you can reduce your overall consumption of clothing. Another way is to buy from sustainable fashion brands. So, sustainable fashion brands use ethical practices, they care about fashion waste, they care about what kind of materials they used, how their workers are treated, if they're being paid fairly or not. And most of these brands are just a quick Google search away. They do tend to be more expensive, but better quality clothes and ethically made clothes are just a little way that you can contribute to helping reduce the problem of fast fashion. Second-hand clothing. For many people, the major attraction of fast fashion is how friendly it is to their bank account. I'm sure all of us are guilty of wanting to go to big malls and buy from all these stores during their sales. However, one thing we all can do is purchase second-hand clothing. Not only would this reduce the amount of textile waste, but it will also help clothing to find a new home and just for people to satisfy their wants and needs without polluting the environment. Another very good way to reduce this problem is by donating unwanted clothes to NGOs or charity shops or trading stores, wherein they will be recycled in the proper way, or they will be going to someone who needs the clothing. And the last option that I have personally dabbled in is called thrift stores or vintage stores. Now, thrift stores and vintage stores have been around, but they very recently have started gaining popularity. A thrift store is basically a place where you can get clothes that are ethically sourced, and you get curated collection of clothes So you get great clothes at lower prices, which are well curated, and unique clothing that only you will have and no one else. And that is what my venture, Thrifted Tones, was all about. I would just like to talk a little bit about how and why I started the venture. So I have always personally thrifted my clothes. Early when I started, I actually did not know about the environmental impact. I just really enjoyed purchasing and finding very unique pieces of clothing. And a lot of times I would just find pieces that were very special and beautiful, and I would gift them to my friends and family. And while I was in college, I learned about the environmental impact of thrifting and how important it was to just buy what we need and upcycle clothing, and about the problem of fashion waste. And that is when I realized that I wanted to contribute and help solve this problem. And that is when the idea of Thrifted Tones and of starting a store came to my mind. So I wanted to start a store in 2019, and I started making preparations. And like any other entrepreneur, there were a lot of trials and tribulations. There was a bit of self-doubt. And I finally ended up launching on the 1st of August of 2020, right in the middle of pandemic, as Sir pointed out. My aim is to have a growing community of people who share not only a love of clothing, but they also want to take a step towards living more sustainably and having a more eco-conscious lifestyle. And I would say that till now, my biggest achievement has been that we've been able to convert people who never in their life would have thought about buying thrifted clothing or buying clothing that was pre-loved or secondhand. And now that's the only thing they buy. And we were the first people who pushed them to do this. Um, Now, I would just like to talk a little bit about entrepreneurship. I'm sure we've all heard the formal definition before. So I would just like to read it out again. Just this is exactly what Wikipedia says. It is the activity of setting up a business or businesses, taking on financial risks in the hope of profit. Now, this definition can sound very daunting. It can sound very scary. And you might think that there are so many technical terms and it sounds like, how will I do this? But I was a business student. These words didn't sound big to me. However, when I realized that wanted to start something of my own and dabble into entrepreneurship, I was also very scared. Um, but when I realized that I wanted to make a difference and find a solution to a problem, was when I realized what I truly wanted to do and what it truly meant. So I started a small store in the middle of a pandemic with very little to no initial investments. I'm sure that there's a lot said and done about entrepreneurship, and you can find all the technical help that you would need online. But I would just like to say is that if you truly care about something and you want to make a difference in this world, then any venture that you start would not only benefit the world, but would end up teaching you a lot. Another thing I want to say to any young people who are watching this, a lot of times interests and passions outside of academics are deemed unimportant, and they most definitely are not. Whatever it is you're passionate about, be it in a creative field such as art or sports, or whether it's fashion, or whether it's makeup, or whether it's photography, or if you have a very academic interest, anything of that sort, you should definitely pursue it, because any interest and every passion is relevant. It is important to find the courage to start what you've always dreamt of starting. In today's day and age, I would say we all have the reach, we all have an audience, and that's just right here in our hands through our phones. And I would say that if you have something to say, there are many people who are interested in listening to you if you have a good individual voice. So seek out help, start your initiative, because your ideas will contribute to making the world a much better place. Um, I hope that after this little speech, some of you will end up making braver and more conscious choices. And as cliche as it may sound, the way to go about making change is by starting small. It's not about changing your entire wardrobe into a sustainable wardrobe in one day. It's about buying your first piece of sustainable clothing or encouraging one person to live more eco consciously. Or maybe it's just about starting a small page on social media to express your creativity and your ideas on the world. Just take the first step. It may lead you to great places, and you will release some untapped potential which you would not have found till you would have taken the first step. So, my last words would be just to take the first step and just take a leap of faith. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kashish. Thank you. Although I knew my team had told me that you were introduced to us by Madam Swarnima Luthraji from the ESN International, but I didn't know that you are so intelligent, you are so dynamic, you are so creative, and you are so matured at this age. I would say all the words whatsoever you have mentioned over here, and so much is the take, and particularly because it's an NGO also, it's helping the needy also, saving environment also, starting entrepreneurship also, becoming a startup also, as a woman taking a lead also, and then a couple of things what you mentioned, that no impulsive purchase, that is also something very important. Then conscious buying, that is the word which you used. And then finally, I mean, this is something very much which appealed to me, ethical clothing. That's another one which has really motivated me and convinced me so well. We pray to Almighty for all the good days for you, good venture for you, and bright days for you, and lots of sunshine and lots of clear weather. And you should excel in your business. You should become outstanding entrepreneur, and you should become inspiration for many other girls to take a lead. Because a girl who can take a lead on 1st of August 2020 during COVID, when people are not sure, oh my God, but at the same time, you're also conscious. We got to get back to the basics of life. Whatever is minimum essential in life, we got to live with that. So we wish you, Kashish, all the best, all the luck,
Thank
all
you,
the
sir.
good days
Thank you so
ahead.
much for your kind
And
words.
we send you all the blessings. And I pray to Almighty to shower everything good for you so that you excel in your mission, in your vision, in your dimensions, and in your business, because that is the entrepreneurship